7 Japanese parenting secrets that make kids listen naturally. Works every time. Have you ever watched Japanese kids in public and noticed something weird? They're actually listening to their parents. No tantrums at the grocery store. No screaming matches at the park. Just kids who seem to naturally cooperate. I know what you're thinking. Must be magic, right? Wrong. After living in Tokyo for 3 years and raising my 2 kids there, I discovered 7 specific techniques Japanese parents use that completely changed how my children respond to me. And the crazy part, these work in any culture, any home, anywhere in the world. Look, I'm not saying Japanese parents have it all figured out, but there's something fundamentally different about how they approach discipline and communication with their kids. Before I learned these methods, mornings in my house were a battlefield. Getting my daughter to put on her shoes took 20 minutes of arguing. Bedtime, don't even get me started. But here's what changed everything. These aren't strict rules or harsh punishments. They're actually the opposite. These are gentle, respect-based approaches that make kids want to listen. And if you don't stick around to learn these, you're going to miss out on techniques that could transform your daily battles into peaceful cooperation. By the end of this video, you'll have 7 practical tools you can use tonight at dinner, tomorrow morning, or whenever your child decides to test your patience next. Secret 1. The power of Gambit. Before I tell you the first secret, you need to understand something about praise. We've been doing it wrong, completely wrong. And once you see the Japanese alternative, you'll never go back. So here's what Japanese parents do. Instead of saying good job or you're so smart, they use this word, Gambit. It means do your best or keep trying. My neighbor in Tokyo, Mrs. Tanaka, wanted her 5-year-old son to learn to tie his shoes, but he kept failing, getting frustrated, ready to give up. Every time he tried and messed up, she didn't say it's okay or you'll get it. She just smiled and said Gambit, keep trying, and something clicked. Because she wasn't praising the result, she was honoring the effort. The kid felt seen for his struggle, not judged for his failure. Within a week, he tied those shoes perfectly. But here's the deeper truth. When you tell a kid they're smart, they become afraid to fail. When you tell them to keep trying, they become resilient. Think about your own childhood. Remember when someone praised your intelligence, and then you felt terrified to attempt anything hard? That's what we're accidentally doing to our kids. The Japanese figured out that effort-based encouragement builds character. Result-based praise builds anxiety. Secret 2. The 1-inch voice. Now, you might be wondering how volume plays into obedience. Let me paint you a picture that'll change everything. Western parents, myself included, have this habit. Our kid isn't listening, so we get louder. Still not listening, louder. Before you know it, we're yelling across the house. Japanese parents do the exact opposite. They get quieter. I watched my friend Yuki do this at a playground. Her daughter was refusing to leave. Instead of raising her voice, Yuki walked right up to her, bent down to eye level and whispered. Suddenly, that little girl stopped mid-sentence and listened. I was stunned, so I asked Yuki about it later. She explained that in Japanese culture, getting close and speaking softly shows respect. It says, I value you enough to come to you. Yelling says, you're an inconvenience I need to control. When I tried this with my own son during his bedtime resistance, something magical happened. I walked to his room, sat on his bed, and spoke barely above a whisper. He actually leaned in to hear me, and in that leaning in, he was already cooperating. The volume wars in our house ended that night. But there's a catch, you can't fake this. You have to actually calm yourself first. Kids can smell frustration from a mile away. Secret 3. Environmental responsibility. Here's where things get really interesting. And this one might make you rethink your entire approach to chores. In Japan, kids as young as 3 years old clean their own classrooms. They serve lunch to each other. They take care of their shared spaces. No janitors in elementary schools. The kids do it all. My daughter's Tokyo preschool had a daily cleaning time called asoji. Every single child participated. And you know what I noticed? These kids didn't complain. They didn't need to be bribed or threatened. They just did it. Because from day one, they learned that they're responsible for their environment. This wasn't a chore assigned by mom. This was their natural role in the community. When we moved back to the States, I started small. I told my kids, this is our home, we all live here. We all take care of it. No chore charts, no allowance tied to tasks, just the simple truth that we're a team and the house is our shared responsibility. The transformation took about 2 weeks. My son started picking up his toys without being asked. My daughter began clearing the table automatically. Not because I rewarded them, but because I gave them ownership. They weren't doing chores for me, they were maintaining their own space. That shift in perspective changes everything. Secret 4. The waiting method. Now, before I explain this next technique, I need you to think about the last time your child had a meltdown. Got it? Okay, keep that in mind. Japanese parents have this incredible ability to sit with discomfort. A kid is crying in the store because they want candy. The parent doesn't immediately try to fix it, explain it away, or give in. They just wait. They stay calm. They acknowledge the feeling. Then they wait some more. I learned this the hard way during my daughter's epic tantrum at a train station in Osaka. She wanted ice cream. I said no. She lost it. An elderly Japanese woman nearby didn't look annoyed. She looked at me with this knowing smile and nodded. That nod said, "You're doing it right." So I sat down next to my screaming daughter and just waited. Didn't bargain, didn't lecture, just stayed present and calm. After 5 minutes, felt like 50, she stopped, caught her breath. And we talked. Here's why this works. Tantrums are fueled by reaction. When you stay calm and wait, you're showing your child that their emotions are valid but not in control. You're teaching them that feelings pass, that they can regulate themselves. But you have to be genuinely calm. Kids can sense when you're seething inside. This technique requires you to do your own emotional work first. Secret 5. Natural consequences. This one completely changed how I think about discipline. And it's going to sound almost too simple. Japanese parents let natural consequences do the teaching. A child forgets their lunch. They get hungry. They don't put their toy away. It might get stepped on or lost. They refuse to wear a jacket. They feel cold. No lectures. No "I told you so." Just reality being the teacher. My son used to forget his homework constantly. I'd remind him, chase him down, drive it to school. Then I stopped. I told him once, "Homework is your responsibility. I won't remind you anymore." The first time he forgot it, he got a consequence at school. He came home upset. I didn't lecture, I just said, "That must have been frustrating. What will you do differently tomorrow?" He never forgot again. Because the lesson came from life, not from me. When consequences come from parents, kids fight them. When consequences come from reality, kids accept them. We're not the enemy. We're the support system helping them navigate the real world. But here's the key. The consequence has to be truly natural and safe. This doesn't mean letting your kid run into traffic to learn about cars. It means stepping back where it's safe to do so and letting reality be the teacher. Secret 6. The group harmony principle. Alright, this next one might seem a little strange at first, but stay with me because it's incredibly powerful. In Japan, there's this concept called group harmony. Kids are taught from infancy that their behavior affects everyone around them, not in a guilt trip way, but in an awareness way. When my kids started at their Tokyo preschool, the teachers would say things like, "When you're loud during nap time, your friends can't rest." Not "you're being bad" or "stop it." Just a simple observation about impact. This teaches cause and effect without shame. It builds empathy naturally. I started using this at home. Instead of "Stop fighting with your sister," I'd say, "When you yell at her, she feels sad and our home feels tense." Instead of "Clean up your mess," I'd say, "When toys are on the floor, someone might trip and get hurt." The shift was remarkable. My kids started thinking about others naturally. They'd apologize without being told because they could see the impact of their actions. This isn't about making kids feel guilty. It's about making them aware. There's a huge difference. Guilt says you're bad. Awareness says your choices create ripples. One creates shame, the other creates responsibility. Secret 7. The quiet expectation. Here's the final secret, and honestly, this one took me the longest to understand. But once I got it, everything clicked into place. Japanese parents have incredibly high expectations but deliver them quietly. They expect respect. They expect effort. They expect cooperation. But they don't constantly voice these expectations or turn them into lectures. There's this calm confidence that the child will rise to meet the expectation. I noticed this with my friend Kenji and his teenage son. One day, the son came home with a bad test grade. Kenji didn't yell, didn't punish. He just looked at the test, looked at his son and said, "This doesn't match what you're capable of. I know you can do better." That was it. No grounding. No lecture. Just a quiet statement of expectation. The son studied harder for the next test and aced it. Not because he was punished, but because his father believed in him. When we expect great things loudly, kids hear pressure. When we expect great things quietly, kids hear trust. I started doing this when my daughter was struggling with reading. Instead of hovering and constantly asking if she practiced, I'd just say, "I know you'll figure this out." "You always do," then I'd step back. She'd see me reading my own books. She'd see me trusting her. And she started trusting herself. Within months, her reading level jumped because my quiet expectation gave her room to grow. But here's the thing, this only works if you genuinely believe in your kid. They can sense when you're faking confidence. Your belief has to be real. So there you have it. 7 secrets that Japanese parents use to raise kids who listen naturally. Gambit, praise the effort, not the result. The 1-inch voice, get close and speak softly. Environmental responsibility, make them part of the team. The waiting method, let emotions pass without reacting. Natural consequences, let reality be the teacher. Group harmony, help them see their impact on others. And quiet expectations, trust them to rise up. Now here's my challenge for you, don't try all 7 at once. Pick one, just one. Try it for a week and watch what happens. Maybe start with the 1-inch voice tonight at bedtime. Or try natural consequences tomorrow morning. Small changes create massive results. And listen, I know parenting is hard. There's no perfect formula. These techniques aren't magic, they require patience and practice. But they work because they're based on respect. They work because they see children as capable human beings, not problems to be fixed. If this video helped you, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'm putting out a new parenting video every day, filled with practical strategies you can use immediately. Next week, I'm breaking down how Japanese parents handle screen time, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Also, drop a comment below and tell me which secret you're going to try first. I read every single comment, and I love hearing your stories. And if you know another parent who's struggling right now, share this video with them. Sometimes we all need a reminder that there's a better way, a calmer way, a way that respects both you and your child. Thanks for watching. Now go try that 1-inch voice and tell me how it goes. I'll see you video week.